Well, the Washington Commanders struggle in their joint practice with the Jets on a very sloppy day. Let's talk about it. Folks, welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. My name is Greg. I am your host. Welcome everybody to this channel. This channel, of course, is dedicated to news and commentary for the Washington Commanders. If you're down with that, please make sure that you have subscribed to this channel and also make sure that you hit that notification bell so you won't miss any other video releases. So the Washington Commanders had their joint practice with the New York Jets today up in New Jersey, New York, the northern area. And I don't know exactly where the Jets practice facility is, so it may not even be in that area. But nevertheless, the Washington Commanders and the New York Jets practiced today, of course. A very rainy, sloppy day. Probably not quite as bad as it's been down here in North Carolina, where it has been flood warnings here and there. Very scary to drive in and all that stuff. So I'm sure that the entire East Coast is getting the effects of Debbie. But regardless, a lot of people are jumping on this because Jaden Daniels didn't have the best of days. He didn't look bad, but he didn't look that great. Of course, the offensive line had a couple of guys who did not practice today. Coleman didn't practice. Wiley continues to suffer some injuries, and so there wasn't exactly what I would consider everybody healthy, right? To play. And plus, this was the first time that Jaden Daniels has been able to play against an opposing team's defense, and even practicing against an opposing team's defense in his career. So I'm not sure what a lot of people would have expected. But, overall, this is a first chance of being able to see Jaden Daniels out there, being able to practice against a defense that is not his own team's defense. I wouldn't read a whole lot into it. Of course, Jaden Daniels is going to start Saturday against the Jets, so that would be interesting to see. I'm not sure exactly how much he's going to play in that preseason game. I would expect that maybe at the most, maybe a quarter, but probably not much more than that. It is going to be interesting to kind of see how he does, how he's able to kind of calm himself down and really get into the flow of things quickly. Because, he hasn't really been named the starter yet. And we know he has the talent, and a lot of people feel that he's a shoe-in to start. But really, I think it depends on how he plays in the preseason. And I know that when Joe Theismann was on our podcast several weeks ago, that was when he first said that he didn't think that Jaden Daniels should play at all in the preseason. I think as you go along, though, you got to realize these players have to get exposed to the game. They have to play. Their positions should not just be handed to them. They got to be able to show that they're able to play at this level, and so that starts with playing the preseason. All that to say, though, as we switch to the defense, and Forbes kind of had an up and down day, got burnt a few times. Benjamin St. Juste didn't play, or practice play, whatever you want to call it. Not that great showing from the secondary. It seemed like the linebackers and the defensive front played pretty well. Secondary, there's still question marks, right? But, however, Forbes did make some good plays. He had a couple of interceptions. And so, let's see if he can really start putting things together, have a good, strong preseason, and show us why he deserved to be drafted in the first round of the draft last year. So not the best. Not the best. I would say that the Commanders struggled in their first inter squad practice, joint practice with another team. But as well, you've had other teams that don't always put their best foot forward during these practices, and that doesn't indicate how that they're going to be during the regular season and beyond. Let's face it, even if Jaden Daniels doesn't look his best in the preseason game, doesn't mean he's not going to be starting in the regular season, and also doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to stink it up in his first year. I think he's going to play pretty well down the road, but it's just going to really take him being getting more experience, being patient, being steady, and going through his training, slowing things down in his mind. I think when he first started today, things were probably kind of like, oh, crap, this is happening. And then I think things finally calmed down for him. He did have some nice passes to Diami Brown. Diami Brown has actually had a pretty good training camp so far. So it still makes you wonder. I feel like Diami Brown could be trade bait, may get cut, but who knows? Maybe he doesn't. So, folks, just to say that you're going to hear a lot of things about this joint session, this joint practice, and how the Commanders just, Jaden Daniels didn't have a good day and all this. People are going to pounce on that. But you got to think the offensive line is still brand new, and a couple of starters were out, and Jaden Daniels just kind of taking it easy as well because you don't want him to get hurt. These conditions were not very good for conditions for players to practice in, honestly. So it was all about just kind of getting him some reps, getting in there, looking at another team's defense, and just cutting your teeth on that. So I would not read a lot into today's practice that much, and I'm not going to read a lot into what happens on Saturday. Hopefully I'll be able to tune in and watch that and give you a good report of what I kind of thought. But anyway, overall, yeah, it wasn't the best day. And it goes to show you that, guess what? This team is still in the rebuild. It's going to take them probably all season long to really start to figure things out. That's why that I have pegged them to probably win about 7 games this year. But 7 quality wins and overall good quality play, even in games that they'll probably wind up dropping. I don't expect them to just stink it up in games they lose. I think they're going to. I think Dan Quinn's going to have them ready, but they're probably going to be good enough to be a 7-win season. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. Jaden Daniels is going to take him a while to kind of get things going with him. But I would say toward about the middle of the season, maybe 3 quarters into the season, you'll start to see them start to figure things out. They'll probably end the season on a high note and going into the fall, the next season ready to compete. And a lot of people, a lot of talking heads in the NFL really feel like Jaden Daniels is the answer and really gives the Commanders a chance to not be the bottom the basement dwellers, the bottom of the barrel. And I agree with that. But you're probably not going to see it this year. And this is just the beginning. It wasn't a great day to practice. It wasn't, it wasn't that this is something that Jaden has seen before. This is his first joint practice with another team. So a lot of new stuff. A lot of new butterflies probably in the stomach as well. So he's going to be okay, folks. don't jump to any conclusions. I know people like to do that. Sometimes I do it as well. But anyway, just want to report on that. Tune in to guys like John Kim, who's going to really give you the 411 on what they have seen in practice. But you know, certainly overall, from what I've heard, secondary still needs some work. We're still figuring things out on the offensive line. Those are the two areas that I felt were good, would ultimately be question marks for the Washington Commanders, and I still feel like they're going to be question marks even going into the regular season. All right, folks, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, give it a share. Let us know what your thoughts are on all of this, and we will be back to report on more training camp news. Just stick with us.